ọmọ mi ayọ̀ mi mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run tó fi fún mi. You are a blessing, not a lesson. I can't wait for you to call me daddy. Inú mi dùn, ayọ̀ mi kún. I feel so lucky that I got you. Inú mi dùn, ayọ̀ mi kún. I feel so blessed that I got.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to our program on parenting. And as usual, I start by reminding us that parenting is a noble task, a task that can raise our status in Jannah and can also make our life comfortable when we have children that we look at and we are proud of having brought them up. So we have been looking at some parenting tips. Last time we talked about 10 tips on parenting, and I hope we have tried out the tips and we've seen how they are working.
You are a blessing, not a lesson.
And today we want to look at something very important, and these are some parenting styles that have been classified by psychologists, and these styles are actually 4 distinct styles of parenting. They are interesting in that they have some variations, they have some common aspects, and I think when we talk about them, every parent will be looking at where do I fall. And parenting styles are actually the strategies that parents use in their everyday parenting of their children. So a parenting style is just a strategy that a parent uses to raise their children. So we will find that most of these parenting styles dwell on discipline, communication, nurturance, and expectations. So there are 4 distinct parenting styles that we are going to talk about. And there is the authoritarian parent, which is authoritarian parenting. We have the permissive parent, where we have permissive parenting. We have the uninvolved parent, where we have uninvolved parenting, and we have the authoritative parenting. So from all this we are going to look at, and each one of us can actually sit and ask themselves, where do I fall, or what kind of a parenting style am I applying, which one would suit me or which one would work with me. And some of these parenting styles, when we talk about them, you might actually feel like, no, I don't like that kind of style, or maybe I have been using it and I don't like it. So let us go through the styles and we decide. So the first one we talked about is the authoritarian parenting. And authoritarian parents are actually thought of as the ones we call disciplinarians, the ones we know who work with a cane the whole time. There's a cane and everything is about caning and rules. So they use a strict discipline style with very minimal negotiation. Like the whole time it is a discipline and there's no time for any form of discussion or argument. And punishment in this kind of home is common. The children are punished the whole time. For anything little they will get punished. Communication is mostly not present, and it's only coming from the parent. The child is not given a voice. They don't voice anything. So communication is one way from the parent. And the rules that are made are not explained. These are just the parents' rules. They come with them and they say these are the rules, and they don't explain them. So you follow the rules or you get punished. And then these kinds of parents are typically less nurturing. They don't have time to spend with the child nurturing this child. For them, it is just punishment and rules. There's no time for nurturing and there's no time for communication. Expectations are usually very high with very little flexibility. So if they tell you you have to come between number 1 to 5, you either do that or you will get punishment. So there is no flexibility. There is no time for any form of discussion. So that is an authoritarian parent, using authoritarian kind of parenting style. So I don't know whether anybody fits in there. If they fit in there, it's now us to ask ourselves from the tips I had given, Do you think that is a very good form of parenting, and is it working for you? Then we have what we call the permissive parents. They are very permissive with the permissive parenting. These ones allow their children to indulge in everything. They do not have any rules, they do not have any guidance, no directions. They are more like friends than parents. Like they interact with their children like their buddies. There is no set of rules. There is nobody who is setting the rules. We are all equal here. We are the same. So these children actually are overly indulged. So their discipline style is the opposite of strict. They have limited or no rules, and they just let children figure out what they want to do. So basically, these children are left on their own to make decisions on what they want to do, come up with rules, and also solve their own problems. Communication is open, but these parents let children decide for themselves, and they don't help by giving them any form of direction. So these children actually are like on their own. They make their own decisions, they do what they want. The parent will not tell them this is wrong. They just allow to do everything that they feel they want to do. So then there's open communication. The children can say anything, anyhowly to anybody. And then parents in this category tend to be warm and nurturing. So there's a difference between the first one and this one. These ones, they are more warm, they are more nurturing. And expectations are very minimal, and they don't set out any expectations for these children. So they're not given like you should come between this position or I want this marks. It's okay. You just go to school and get whatever you want. It's okay. I don't care what you do so long as you've gone to school. You bring whatever grade you want. So I don't know. Do we think that's a very good style? It's up to us now to decide. Uninvolved parents give their children a lot of freedom and generally stay out of their way. So uninvolved, they're not involved at all. They give them their time, they give them their way, they don't involve themselves. Some parents may make a conscious decision to parent in this way. Some parents actually feel that is the best way to parent. Others are less interested. So this can happen either because a parent has decided to do it, or it can happen because a parent is not interested in their duties. They just became parents and that's it. They don't really care. So there is no particular discipline style in this home. And an involved parent lets a child do what they want most of the time. They lack information and they really don't care. So the children can actually sense my parent doesn't care. I can do whatever I want. They're really not bothered. Communication is limited. They don't talk to these children. There is never any form of communication from either way. They don't listen to the children, neither do they talk to these children. This group of parents actually do not nurture. There is no nurturing happening, and there are few or no expectations from these children. They just are not involved. It's like these children are actually bringing themselves up, maybe with the help of a house girl, but the parents are just not involved. So that is the uninvolved parenting. Then we have the authoritative parenting. Authoritative parenting are reasonable and they are nurturing and set clear expectations for their children. Children whose parents demonstrate this kind of parenting tend to be self-disciplined and think for themselves. This style is thought to be the most beneficial for children. So this is a style that each one of us should actually try to aspire to parent with. So this is a style where disciplinary rules are clear. So whatever rules have been set, they are clear, they are not ambiguous, and they are consistent like we had discussed before. And the reasons behind the rules are explained. So rules are very clear, very well explained. So children actually know why we have these rules and they are well explained. Communication is frequent. So this parent communicates with this child frequently, and the communication is both ways and always brought to the child's level of understanding. If they're communicating with a 2-year-old, they'll make sure that their level of communication suits the 2-year-old. If they're communicating with a child who is a teenager, 14 years, they'll actually bring the communication to that child's age group. So this is a parent who knows how to talk with each child according to their stage of development. Authoritative parents are very nurturing. So there's a high nurturing happening in this kind of home. And they set expectations and goals for their children, which are high, clearly stated, and children have input into these goals. So as they are setting these goals, the children become part of the goals. So now we have talked about those 4 parenting styles. I'm sure when we started with the first one, we went to the second one, we went to the third one. A parent is wondering, so if I've been doing this kind of parenting, maybe I'm an involved parent, what should I do? I always say we can start where we are. It is never too late. We can start where we are. We can all aspire to become authoritative parents, where we know that we are going actually to get the 4 things that we want, which is discipline. We want our children to have communication from us and them communicating to us. We want our children to get nurturance where they are nurtured, and also to have expectations. And we found that all these 4 are found in the authoritative kind of parenting. So can we fit into any single, or are we applying different aspects of each of this parenting? So I think it is important, as we go for our break, you sit back, actually reflect on your style of parenting, and what have the fruits been? What have you been seeing in your children? Do you like the results that you've been seeing? Or would you like to change your parenting style to the one that you're saying is the most beneficial, one that will yield better fruits for us as parents? So let's go for a short break. When we come back, we're going to discuss more on these parenting styles. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to our program on parenting. And today we were discussing parenting styles. And we talked about 4 distinct parenting styles. And we actually came to an agreement that one of them was one that was seen to be maybe the one that could be best. We started by explaining the authoritarian parenting, where we just talk of discipline with no communication, no nurturance, and with expectations that at times are not very reasonable. We talked about the permissive parenting, where we just allow our children to indulge in anything without restriction. And we said there is usually like no discipline, no communication, expectations are not there. Nothing is actually set for this child. It's like they're just on a free range. And then we talked about the uninvolved. With the uninvolved, we said they're actually not present. They don't involve themselves in this parenting. They don't have any particular discipline style. They do not have any communication with their children, and they offer little nurturing. And then we talked about the authoritative parenting, which we said seems to be the one that is actually looking like it can yield more good results, because we said with this one, the parent is more involved in the child's life. This is a parent who sets clear rules, who discusses the rules with the child. It's a parent who has good communication with the child, respects the child, is consistent with what they're saying. So we feel like with this kind of parenting, we can actually get better results, and that's what we are actually advocating, that we should actually aspire to have more of. Now, when we sit back, at times we can't actually sit back and say, I'm going to apply this kind of style. But we can pick certain aspects and actually use them in these parenting styles. Remember, the most important thing we want our children to turn out well, them to turn out to be upright citizens, upright Muslims, children we are proud of, children who can actually go out there in life and not have to be micromanaged as adults, children who can become responsible, and we are proud to say that is my son or that is my daughter. So it's very important that we actually look at ourselves do an introspection of what are the parenting styles I've been using. Am I this person who just lets them indulge, do whatever they want? They are free to make their own decisions. Am I over harsh with these children? Am I just not involved? And unfortunately, most of the time, we are in our community, we are having parents who are very uninvolved. We are having parents who both go to work, both coming back in the evening, very tired. They don't want to have any questions from the children. They don't want to talk with them. They just tell them, go do your homework, take your bath, watch cartoon, and go to sleep. So this is what is really happening most of the time. And in this, we now get where we start trying to bribe the children by giving them certain presents or certain stuff so that it covers up for the time that we are not there, the attention that we are not giving our children. And most of the times when we have children coming in for counseling, you're asking them, or even asking the parents, so what time do you spend with your child? And they tell you, I rarely have time to be with my child. And I remember an incident where something bad had happened to a girl. And when I was trying to talk to the parent to bring it out that actually your girl has reported that this and this has happened to them. And the parent said, how can it happen? There are always people in the house. So I said, so which are these people who are always in the house? Are you always in the house, you, the mother? And she says, no, I have a business I am running. So I leave the house by around 5. And then the father, 5 a.m. in the morning. And the father said, I also leave very early, from around the same time, 5 a.m. in the morning. And the mother said she gets back in the evening at around 7 or 8. And the father says he might even come in later, even past midnight, because his work entails him putting in a lot of effort. So I asked them, so when you tell me that there are always people in the house, whatever the girl is reporting could not have happened, yet the two of you are always absent, how sure are you that something didn't happen? So at times we as parents make assumption that the house is full with other people. These other people are not there to parent our children. They are not the parents of our children. So we need to create this time where we are there for our children. If we really want to get something good out of our children, we must also give them time. The same way we give our businesses time, the same way we must also give our children time. So for a business to thrive, you have to give it time. For children to thrive, we must also give them time. So it's upon us to sit and ask ourselves, where are we at? And where can we start? What can we do to create more time to be with our children? So I don't know, when you're sitting there, what is going on through your head. Are you already having a plan in your head on how you can become an authoritative parent, a parent who is able to communicate, a parent who is able to be there for their children? So at times, we do everything that we're supposed to do, and still our children might not turn out the way we really wanted them to turn out. One of the most important things we should never forget is always to do dua for our children. Always pray for our children. Always guide them and always do dua for them. But there are certain things that can make our children not turn out the way we really wanted them to turn out. And what are these things? One, it could be the child's temperament and how it fits with the parents. Or it could be one parent is trying to implement a good parenting style and the other one is implementing a different. We can have a parent who is authoritative, trying to implement the very good things we have talked about, and we have a parent who is permissive. So the children get confused. Like if we talk to daddy, he will give us permission and we can do whatever we want. But if we talk to mommy, she will give us certain rules. So the children really don't know what to go by. And as any human being, they will want to go with what is easier. If dad is permissive, then why don't we apply that set of rules and go by that? So we need to ask ourselves as two parents, are we on the same page? Are we both of us using the same parenting style? And what are we all working towards the same goal? So the two parents actually need to sit down and agree on the parenting style that they want to use and the goals that they want to achieve with their children, so that every time they can sit down and actually assess, where are we at? Are we progressing the way we want to? Are we at the right place? So as parents, there has to be this constant communication to see whether we are parenting the way we want to parent and whether the two of us are on the same page. If we are not on the same page, as parents, we can sit, have a discussion, and agree to work again towards being on the same page. So it's always sitting down and reevaluating ourselves, always being able to actually be open to communication from the other parent. And if the parent is telling you, I think you're being too permissive, then you listen. Maybe they have seen something that you're being too permissive or you're being too harsh. So it's up to us to try and balance each other as parents so that we are able to get the best out of our children. But remember, at times we will do everything possible and they might not turn out the way we want. One, we are saying maybe because of their temperament, which could also be totally different from our temperament. Also, maybe the schools they are going to, what are the things they are learning in school. Though I know most parents like using this as an excuse. Anytime a child develops a bad language, the first thing the parent will say, they picked it at school. But I always say, let us start with ourselves. Let us ask ourselves, did they pick it from our home? If it is not from our home, then now we can go to school. So even the schools we are taking our children will play a big role in how they will turn out to be what we want them to turn out to be. And alhamdulillah, nowadays we have many Islamic schools which are built on a Muslim or Islamic principles. Maybe we can try and have our children going to those schools. If it is not possible for them to go to those schools, we can always play our part as parents to always talk about school, what they did at school, and correct whatever we feel is not Islamic in nature in whatever the child is trying to come up with. And so as we have talked about those parenting styles, it is important that we actually look at ourselves, reflect, try and apply the parenting style that works with our children, and one that we have explained that will give our children discipline, one that there is communication happening where we know that we are nurturing the children, and one where we also have their expectations met and we're also putting expectations on them. So as parents, the most important thing is let us work together, each parent playing their part and always assessing to see if our parenting styles are actually making our children thrive. And we are actually seeing some positive results from the parenting styles that we are applying. So this is Riziki from Hidayah. So until we meet next time, please have yourself some very good parenting experiences.
Ọmọ mi, ayọ̀ mi, mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run tó fi fún mi. You are a blessing, not a lesson. I can't wait for you to call me daddy. Inú mi dùn, ayọ̀ mi kún, I feel so loved.